Our guest today is Farrah Abraham, who has been a TV personality for almost 13 years. And she has this beautiful daughter, Sophia. She is an entrepreneur. She is a singer. She's an author. She did so many beautiful things. You can find her on a numerous of TV shows. But I'm going to stop talking and give the floor to Farrah. Hi, Farrah. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, thank you, Kathy, for having me. And hello to everyone. I'm so excited. It's a new year and it's a blessing year after getting through maybe a decade of TV and longer.
You've done so much. How was it for you to go from one thing to the next and to just like keep on moving while being a mom as well?
I think because I started television in kind of like a dark space, as I wrote about in like my first memoir and like I sang about on my album that I did with that book. I was kind of going through like a grief phase, and I think continuing to like keep moving, keep learning myself, challenging myself, and staying busy really helped me through some sadder times, more depressed times, and figuring out what a bereavement cycle looks like to myself because it's different from everyone. And so, yeah, I definitely kept myself busy from TV shows, traveling the world, and also sharing the world with my daughter that I never had when I was a child, because I wanted that for her as I was experiencing life in different ways for the first time as a single mom. So, yeah, keeping it moving has always been a part of my life journey.
The father of your daughter, he passed away in a car accident while you were pregnant with her. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So, and there was legal issues. Both of our parents were suing each other at the time. And, you know, as teens transforming and then also having a documentary show on MTV at a time in that generation, there was just lots of transitioning, moving parts. And as well, my mom and dad were kind of trying to like go through a divorce. During that time, it's like you're going to be evolving no matter what. And how will you be evolving and transitioning through this and coming out on the other side, which was me, the life I knew prior to being pregnant, changed through that, and then not waking up, but giving birth at a hospital and meeting a new life for the first time and starting a different life, because you can never go back from that once you become a mom. And it was so many things. And I was very, I don't want to say it like traumatized, but it was a very traumatizing evolution of myself at that time. And it took me a lot of years, a lot of therapy to process that.
I can only imagine because, I mean, to be honest, I was 35 when I got my first child.
Yeah.
And I thought that was some heavy shit to go through.
Yeah.
They say
yeah, I always never say it's just difficult at being a teenager. I definitely have, my girlfriends having children for the first time, like when they're around 40, my parents had me when they were around 35, 36. And I would say, from learning and seeing my parents go through so many struggles and like needing more time to find their own selves. And that's why I think some kids say, oh, I had a rough childhood, but I think I have a lot of empathy for understanding my parents' disabilities and what they didn't even know about themselves. And then they have a child. And I've learned so much about that on my own journey, as like even our brains don't get done developing until our late 20s. And there I was trying to be so much to so many and evolve. And yet my brain really didn't understand as much as I was going through. And I get conflicted when I look back and I see, adults probing teen parents on TV and be like, well, why can't you just get through it? Or like, what are you hung up about? Like, there are so many, or what do I regret? It's like, well, we're still developing and like, these are the years to do that. I had no answers at that time, but I don't really regret any of that. I was happy that we have those years to share with other people, because it does not matter. We will all go through hard times as parents.
There's no other way than to just go forward, I guess. Otherwise, how would you cope with that?
That's what I do have to say, like, to all of us parents who are learning and adapting to our new selves. There's really no other person to tell you right or wrong. I guess obviously we have our main references of right or wrong in life. But I think, someone saying, get out there and date again, or get out there and live life. I think we really need to understand how if you're having more than one child, you have to then transform to someone who is open and allowing more and more love and more time, and dedicating that in different ways and aspects. And I think we have an endless capability of loving, but it is definitely hard to keep up with loving so many things and giving to so much. So for all the moms, dads out there, don't forget to take some time to love yourself.
Oh yes, that's the first thing. Otherwise, you're just lost.
Yeah, stressed out for sure.
Yeah. Is there anything you regret in your life?
No, definitely. As I'm 30 now, I do not regret any of the things that I learned in my 20s, so that I don't have to go through them in my 30s or my 40s or my 50s. Like, I know what serves me coming out of my 20s and what I leave in my 20s.
Yeah, that's brilliantly said, because it's about what is serving me in life and what's not. Because so many times we're distracted by things that are happening to us. But the thing is it serving me, yes or no? And then you know straight away how much attention and energy you want to put on that. What is your proudest achievement in life?
I probably would say my proudest achievement is being a mother, and a successful one through it all, with loving my child and not losing myself through just a lot of traumatizing work projects, or, a lot of us just go through a lot of hard times. So I think just never losing myself and allowing the hard world to change me so I can still be the happy, loving, amazing mom that I want to be. So I'm not ever closed off to my child. I think that's just something that is a huge success as a parent.
You have lived like some years in the spotlight with a lot of input from all different sides towards you. I can only imagine that you've had a lot of negative input as well as positive. How did you cope with all the negative feedback you were receiving from maybe people on social media, or people involved in your career or family? How did you cope with that?
I would say negative feedback, whether it's true or wrong or right or whatever it is, I think because I can be my own like self-sabotaging critic if I allow my mind to be that, that is when that is a true big concern to myself. I'm not as concerned with someone else being negative with me. That's like, I don't know, some criticism, feedback or something. And I let everyone have their own opinion. But again, understanding that sometimes when you take on these negative views that people speak over you, you can turn into a negative, unlike yourself person. And our minds always must be in a positive, progressive, like training. And if you allow the negative training, you will go nowhere and be negative. And I think I came from somewhat of a narrow-minded, abusive mentality. And I know that that did not serve my family. That did not serve the children of my generation. And I think I've always been very much an advocate inner of my own soul, that like, as soon as I could break free from that or help others break free from that, I would definitely be about that. So I guess when I applied to do 16 and pregnant and teen mom, it just wasn't to show that you can overcome challenges as a parent. There actually is a lot that goes into what I said in a casting tape and for a network. It's not about just breaking cycles for teen parents. And it's also just not like only about being a teen parent. There's like breaking cycles of abuse, breaking cycles of not talking about your mental health, breaking cycles of like overcoming the systemic disadvantages of like female reproductive health and wellness that we have not discovered yet. There are just so many things that I was breaking cycles of in educating ourselves and our next generations and our kids, that it wasn't just only about being a teen mom.
When I got my first child, my son, that's like 2 years ago, I thought that it was so hard to receive input, even if it's from loved ones and even if it's not even negative. But when you just become a mom, you're so fragile. I worked years on being secure and leading a confident life, but I was so insecure all over again, like a teenager. I was so insecure, and everything that someone would say, I would be like, and you take it all in, and then you stay stuck in your head. And I thought that was really challenging to move through, especially with all the hormones going on as well, for sure. But I mean, I've had so many amazing tools that I've learned to use for my mental health and for my thoughts to bring peace of mind. I don't even know, if you don't have those tools, how bloody hard that has to be.
I wanted to share something because you brought up like such a great topic of like, I have these tools that I've added on over the years to try to help myself. And I think recently this year, in a year of resilience, retraining my brain, I went through another traumatic, life-changing event unbeknown to myself. And it definitely messed with my subconscious, like my non-awake self. And I wanted to just say, like, I really struggled this year of just saying, wow, all of the tools I have learned the last 13 years of therapy did not serve me in this trauma. I went from like, all of us were like, we're a 10, we're happy, we're good, we got this, we're confident, right? And I then went to an ultimate like below zero, because something knocked me off of everything to my core of how we like came into this world, like as babies and children and learning. And I knew that something was missing in my practice of learning. And I think that was very much, and I think either we have extreme happy highs of change, we have extreme lows and difficulties of change in our lives. And one of my therapists who like was a male therapist, he also helped those who were sexually assaulted and incarcerated and in jail and sitting there. And he was in retirement this year. And he shared with me, it is up to us, no matter if it is so good or so bad, we can make the ultimate choice of saying, I'm going to use this for the good. And even if all of our experiences, like all of our changing brain experiences up until our mid-20s, even if none of that has helped us get through like our late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, things in our grandparental years and everything, we can always dip into a depression if we just say, this is something to learn from, rather than just use all of our tools and know it all. Because I think that's what I very much, have been shown of prior generations before me, is like, oh, I've been doing this for so many years, I know it all, and respect me. And I always feel in my practice and in my journey of life and for my child that it does us a disservice to close ourselves off to what we do. It's like we might have an idea of what we don't know and we want to go travel to Chile and see how the world is. But then we get there and it's a culture shock. It's not what we've read about. And we have to be open to really learning how everything is then. But in our own world, that could be traumas. That could just be new experiences of love, highs and lows. And I think I really witnessed that even in childbirth, like everything will be different than what you have been taught. And it can be a sad experience or it can be a glorious experience. And it should be a very happy time, but there's a lot of dark things that come with happy times and protective measures and things you're learning. And I just had to say, like, I could open my mouth and share all the negatives and the hardships that no one talks about. Like, they act like everything's good all the time. I think I just wanted to start saying, I would like to share more of the hardships so that people don't struggle and fail. And I dislike when people are so more talkative about, oh, well, they failed as a parent, they failed as a business person. Do you know the odds of how many new businesses stay open? It's not about the numbers. It's about changing the numbers and showing why. And it's not because the individual person and their tools failed. It's because we did not adhere to how everything is changing, adapting, financial stresses, how to overcome those things. So I hope that, like, everything that I continue to share in my journey of TV or online courses, sometimes I have pop-ups or just like fun experiences of chatting even with you. I hope people know, like, it's just not the numbers of failing. We truly are our own heroes, and also sharing everyone else's life journey, listening to this is super important for those. And it's not just about how great our generation is. I hope other future generations are much more greater than we are.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully said, because we very often diminish the small successes. And that's one of the things I love to work on with clients, because making the small successes bigger and more present in your life, and bringing more gratitude into your awareness, that is shifting your entire energy, which is leading you to attract more of the same, which is more happiness, more joy, more success. Very often we think we have to be humble, and that being humble means bringing ourselves down and presenting ourselves smaller than we actually are. We all die, and there's no one who ever said he didn't do enough. There's just, you can only miss out on being your true self and regretting that at the end of your life.
Yeah, go for what you want, and you'll be surprised, even if others look at something as a failure, being in the present. I don't know, I call it almost like underdog, like you're like the underdog, and you can live in your own peace and still, help so many people, and you don't really need to like totally shine all the time. And I love supporting people and letting them be themselves. And I hope no one says I never did enough, because I just give, I need some me time.
There's so many expectations being projected on you, because people want you to show up in a certain way, and they want you to act in a certain way, and they want you to do things in a certain way. And, that can give a lot of pressure.
That does.
Yeah. So what is your tip for people in the same situation?
Do not do yourself a disservice without including somebody who knows the tools to overcome OCDs, trauma, how it affects your body, just different sleep patterns and these things. Once you put that into your practice of learning and understanding yourself, you can literally then stop having chronic pain. You can then say to someone who doesn't understand what trauma looks like, because a lot of our world is just acceptive of non-consent culture. They're acceptive of, I can just still be abused. Like, I can keep going through hardships and stack on the abuse. And I have just started living my life of saying, whether that's women not supporting women, men not supporting men and or women, like the thing of coming together and saying, hey, everyone deserves consent. They deserve to live their constitutional laws as they were born with. Wow, why haven't we been doing that? I just say, I'm not letting my rights and my freedoms die. And I think I'm super big in that this year. And that has helped me in a lot of ways of stopping negative talk, stopping illegal things going on around me, bettering up my work goals, increasing my income, showing my daughter how to live her best life with all the rights she's been born with. And her generation deserves that even more than my generation. So I just hope by sharing that I am no longer living my life in a disservice. I'm living my life service by understanding we will all go through traumatic events and it affects our lives. We cannot ignore abuse and how that affects our bodies, our subconscious, our consciousness. And I've learned that I am not stronger than traumas and our bodies, no matter what, will hold and show things we have gone through. And I cannot break through that on my own. So yeah, I'm just blessed today to like be chewing properly, talking properly, getting out of chronic pain this year, understanding even how like birth controls affect a woman's body of brain fog, anxiety. So yeah, there's been a lot of new tools that even though we've been bored with, I am using fuller, and I in turn having a fuller career, a fuller motherhood, and now a fuller journey of like dating again and giving myself these new opportunities and total new eyes, I have to say.
So
Yes.
are you up for sharing, because you've mentioned a little bit a few times about, you know, you having some struggles this year. Are you up for sharing this as an example, what happened and what exactly you did to you know, transform from being a victim in the first place when something happens to you towards stepping into your own power again? Because I think this is really valuable.
I do not know why these events happened to me this year. I do not understand why, like, this also was a very big event with one of my other many of my family members this year, and also colleagues and friends who also experienced sexual assaults. And when this had happened to me this year, it was, I mean, I was unconscious, you know. So when I tell people who know me what had happened to me, they literally are in disbelief that that could happen to me. And I think equally, I did myself a disservice again by thinking I was above sexual assault. And I say that because my thinking before this assault was I've traveled all over the world. I've done nightclubs, I've done gentlemen's clubs, I've done speaking engagements. I've been everywhere across the world, it seems. And I have, you know, overcome rape culture in a way. And I have always stood up, you know, when people got me, you know, misunderstood about if I was in adult entertainment, if I was just a business person, or how I'm handling that, other than people sensationalizing it and thinking it was like the coolest career move, which it wasn't about that for me. I think that that was a younger misunderstanding that I think like hit me at the core when I was sexually assaulted this year. That was a younger learning of what non-consent, like rape culture vibes look like. And when I was younger, I did do sex, like trauma therapy, sex therapy, because I was so judged about what was going on in my sexuality. I was having such negative self-talk, probably because of my OCD or ADHD or just trauma from it. Not understanding why women and men were conspiring things. And it was, again, like my mom, my dad, and how their views of their daughter and like all this stuff that was still forming in my head. I didn't really have the tools or quite the understanding, but I heard, you know, a couple times, many years from therapists about do not sex shame myself. This is how you want to be as a mother when you go through it, how to help and support your child. And all of these different baby steps, micro steps of understanding healthy talk, understanding my sexuality, my journey, how I want to be there for my child. And when I had those planted seeds when I was in my younger 20s, thank God I had those. And then now when I was 29 and I was assaulted and I was unconscious and I couldn't be myself to save myself. And just so you know, my situation, my body literally must have had such a horrific trauma to this that I still can't pull it from my memory. So that leads into another confusion, almost like you had like a concussion or something. So like you can't pull these memories, but like your body is having a severe reaction to the trauma, like a squirrel would, or something is what my doctor always says. It just blanks it out. So you are in survival mode.
Yeah.
And I had to, because I have worked so hard in my life to get out of survival, like fight flight modes. I've had so hard to get out of that, especially as a young mom, where I felt like older people are always attacking me as a young parent. I had people call CPS on me. I had my child stolen from a babysitter by her grandmother. I've had cops come to my house when I just called to do the right thing about abuse in my family. And then I ended up walking downstairs with a police officer to a gun with my mom's head, my mom holding 2 knives. And I needed to go save everybody's life and figure out how to fix a domestic violence situation rather than add more death and trauma to the world. So there have been weird things that I thought I could, pull a memory from this current assault. I can't with all the power in my being. And then I realized the reason why I wasn't sleeping and I couldn't focus, my ADHD got really bad from this traumatic sexual assault. And I finally realized through like a really deep 10-day trauma therapy that why I couldn't go to sleep, even with medication and everything else. Like my doctors were like, your body is like, doesn't even care that you had like the highest dosage of muscle relaxers. Like your jaw's still stuck. You can't sleep. These things should be knocking you out. My cortisol levels were blocking everything. Stress, anxiety. I mean, it was debilitating. I couldn't work. I couldn't do all my fan pages. I couldn't keep up with my supporters. I couldn't function. And it was very, again, negative self-talk at these times for a lot of victims of sexual assault. They end up changing their careers. They don't believe in themselves anymore. It is debilitating. And when I started asking other victims of assault through this time, like, because again, I'm in a state of confusion. I don't know why I couldn't sleep. I don't know why I can't overcome this trauma. I have been through hard things, dark, depressive things. I don't know why I've been feeling suicidal and I have no connection to this. Never did I know I'd be in this. So once I started talking and just being strong about my experience and just being like, I want to get through this. I am, I'm taught that victims can be victors, and that's my Christianity and that's what I believe in. And that's how I've had the spirit that I've had. I want to go back to myself or a better Farrah self. Like it doesn't have to be the same person. I started grieving the loss of that person, rebuilding myself literally from the ground up again. So let me just say this to everyone. You will go rock bottom at many times in your life. The one thing I'm so thankful for is that I know how to rebuild myself at zero over and over and over again. And that's why I love resilience. Because if you can just say, hey, I'm gonna just rebuild from zero, make something out of nothing. I think that's why I've been such a successful businesswoman, even through very big, weird traumas that I didn't know how to process at certain times. Yeah. And this helped me, guide other sexual assault victims this year into, other great levels of their life by hearing my journey. So I have been blessed to fight in or out of like the Rape Victim Center that I got to finish and, help their program get better and in turn help other victims have a better experience. But I've also just helped myself say like, I don't need anything that didn't serve me prior. I need what serves me now. I'm so grateful for what I have so I can be a stronger, better person. We all need this right now, especially because whether you're having severe traumas or death or all these other things that will inevitably happen to us in our lives, but we will all not be the same person through a lot of our life's journeys, even if it's just like a virus or something like that. So I know I'm talking about something severe, and especially when you can't pull even memories from your mind because you're so damaged from it, but you're having severe body reactions. And a lot of people were saying to me, it's all in your head. And I was spending thousands of dollars this year trying to seek, all sorts of doctor medical help, trying to just fix this. And as much money as I was throwing at it, I was also wasting because I had all of these resources within myself that I needed to unlock and relearn.
Yeah.
And that's why I boil it down to resilience. So I hope that kind of helps without getting into so much depth of, I don't want to be crying or re-traumatize myself. So, because trying to function and understand it all, I can never do. My brain can't go there. But I do know that I'm very lucky that maybe I cannot remember what has happened to me. And that's why rebuilding and maybe understanding our brains can't fully understand severe traumas is really okay. And I think that brought me back to like unexpectedly when I lost my daughter's father and I was 8 months pregnant. That was something I could not wrap around of how deep and dark that had hurt me. And it's and I thought nothing else could hurt me that deep. But sadly, there's many of things in our life journeys that might get us there. So I'd rather share and talk about this because like seeing my cousins and like seeing my family members go through similar things, I want them to be even better. I want to see them just shine. And I know that they wanted to see me get my shine back, get my happiness back. And I really had to just let some things go. Like I couldn't hang out with my nieces and nephews. I couldn't go to theme parks and be social this year. My sister and my grandma literally I had panic attacks and massages. I have never been like this in my life. I had pinched nerves in my sleep in my neck. So just know you can have severe debilitating things happen. Once I started learning what I just won't know and what I can know, I really have become more resilient this year. So I'm excited. I'm actually excited to move forward this year. And I really hope people can find excitement and joy and new purpose again, just by even sharing your story with other people. It might help them, live their fullest rights and constitutional rights that they're born with and inspire that again. And that in and of itself is just beautiful.
That is such a powerful message. I think it might be interesting. 2 little things about the situation. How did you get unconscious? Did they drug you or what happened? And how did you know afterwards that you were raped?
I don't know fully how I became unconscious. I know after writing everything out and recording everything, luckily I came from TV background. I want to just say something about that. If I didn't come from where I came from prior to this assault, I don't think I could have helped 8 other women who are also victims of a serial predator. But like my director told me, that sexual predator messed with the wrong woman. And I think that is evident in how I was raised through my childhood to my teens to my 20s with television business. I was also very shamed that night by men to put my phone away, to don't take pictures, you're not allowed to do this. And it was very much condescending of my person and changing my person. And I have to say, women always must believe in their gut intuition and their feelings. And luckily that night, like the police were also called. There was like a noise complaint from where I was that evening. And I was actually out of town. I was traveling with my daughter. I was doing work meetings and with girlfriends that I thought I could trust. And I was very much, as I have been, wrongfully put in jail from bad girlfriends, setting me up and very other miscellaneous criminal activities. And so I know from my past, I cannot trust people, even if I've known them for years. And this is just one of those situations where I was set up by other women who are conspiring with basically rape culture and men who are predators. And I was not aware of who I would totally be around. And I think if anything's a bigger lesson, we cannot be so trustworthy and so kind to people anymore, even if you know them. My daughter knows this, safety first now. It's either you understand the full picture and the full intention of someone, or you have other plans and you are busy now. So I will never just have some pop-up thing and go, be a wing woman for someone else anymore, because I've learned I can be conspired for a crime and my name will be brought up, even if I sign Marcy's Law, even if I sign documents to protect myself, even if I have that person sign an NDA, they will always break the laws. And I will be, my body, my life, my brain will be at victim of all these crimes. So how did I know? So yeah, I can only recount what my last thoughts were that my brain knew, and what I saw and what I felt. And then when I woke up, I literally had thought that I had made it in a car service back to get my daughter, because I said to her, one of the last texts on my phone was, "Hey, I'm waiting on the car service. I'm going to go grab you food and I'll be home." When I woke up, I was seeing my alarm. I was woken by my alarm, and all that I thought was like, "Oh, I'm so happy." Like, I seriously was saying this. I'm so happy that I got Sophia like food. Okay, but like, we got to get up. Like, I have to make it for my COVID shot. I was actually getting my COVID shot the next day. We had to hop on a plane. I have always a very busy schedule, so I don't have time for much. And I was literally like self-talking to myself to get awake. Don't sleep through an alarm. You have things to do. When I woke up, my hands were clutched, actually in a sheet. So like, I went and hit an alarm, and I came back to the position before I hit the alarm. I was clutching sheets. I've never done that my entire life. Then I was, then you're getting more mindful as you wake up. I don't have clothes on. So I am stark naked, clutching sheets like I'm scared. And that's how my body was when I woke up. And I could not understand then, because my mind went into a very surreal place. And I've been in a lot of surreal situations, good and or surreal, severely bad. And my head was like disconnected, and it was like reviewing the room, and I could like see myself and this person was copying me, and like copying me with what they were doing with the sheets and stuff. And I just want to say this because I just realized I was just too kind as a person, and I could have like been killed. And I just want to say, like, my intention of being like, "Hey, what happened with this person?" And it was just turned very dark. I realized like I was not on the same team with this person. This person was not on the same team as me. This person was lying. This person did something very awful to me. And when you get frantic and scared and you realize like people aren't on the same team as you, I like ran. So, and I was lied to, and it was just really traumatic after. And I think sometimes even if you don't remember because you were drugged or I don't know, you could have been hit, could have been a lot of things. And I had like stabs, I had bruises. I looked like a hell of a mess leaving that place. And then I had to go be in a car with women who put me in this situation and didn't even show concern or care. It was very awkward in a car service with another human hearing. And as I'm getting my awareness and my bearings, I was told those people laughed at me, but they were there. So there was a lot of evidence. There was a lot of tracking. And I am just blessed with like a location of showing that I was attacked. I was blessed with a lot of things. And I just want to say this. I have never been in a situation like that in my life to this extent. And my luggage ended up getting lost as I made it to the airplane with my child and a lot of things. I was wearing those same clothes. I ended up getting rerouted to my dad's house. I literally just gave up that day. And I remember like a fan at the airport wanting to take a photo with me, and I'm just masking and just holding it together.
Yeah.
And I learned, like, I'm sorry, I'm crying. I just learned from that experience, like my whole life. Sometimes I have been masking because that's how I was raised, to mask, to survive with my disabilities, my challenges, my abuse, my this, my that, help other people look good, try to just get it together for the betterment of everyone and not like really admit to what I presently am going through. And this created such a chain of events in my head, and experiencing like just trying to be happy for a fan, trying to be happy for my daughter, that I realized all the way to my childhood how much I had masked and gone through abuse and everything. And maybe like I just decided in my therapy at the Rape Victim Center, I decided like, I'm not going to be a victim of someone assaulting me. I'm not also going to be a victim of any abuse that I've been masking and holding on my entire life. And that is sad, I think, to learn at such a unaware age of learning. But the police officer who took my rape kit and my report, he just said he was very proud of me. And he said, you know, Farrah, a lot of women, if they don't come forward, maybe for a friend, a family member, or themselves to report a rape or a sexual assault of some sort to something or themselves, they will succumb to that culture. So I just want to say, guys, like, it is never too late to overcome your traumas. It is never too late to relieve yourself of all these masks that we have been taught to put on to persevere. And I rather just let it be open so I can overcome and be resilient rather than keep holding things in and causing severe anxiety and just health problems and unforeseen health situations. So I'm just really proud of how far I've come this year, unexpectedly to myself, and letting myself be freer and more transparent and living my life to the fullest. And, you know, having better dates than I've ever had now, when I had to stop going outside and being around men. I was so fragile this year. And even like on set this year, I have, we are releasing the Teen Mom Family Reunion for fans this year, actually in January. And I was snuck up on set while filming, and a man did that. And it triggered something that I realized I still needed to work on because of being so freaked out by the sexual assault and like what the man had done to me, that I could not hear. And my father also couldn't talk the same talk to me anymore after I was assaulted. And I also had to cut off communication with my mother because of this assault. And what I learned is, if someone who attacks you and puts you in a very scary place says something to make it okay, and if, like, for instance, my dad would say, well, you're an adult, and that sexual assault person said that to me to validate that it was okay of what he did to me. And I had a really hard time hearing anything of that sort around it. It was so triggering and traumatic. So my dad had to stop saying certain things. And also my mom, who used to be like in a sex shaming or like, you know, very derogatory towards her daughter about figuring out sexuality, or like, where did you find that guy from? Or like insinuating you're a slut or a whore, or you're doing something wrong in your sexual journey of discovery. You know, when I divulged to them that I had to do the right thing for me and turn this person in, and I didn't tell them exactly what had happened, even when my dad washed the clothing that I needed for police, I just didn't know how to communicate what had happened to me. Instead, I took my dad's car and said, like, my nails are so dirty, like, I need your car. I didn't say like I was viciously attacked, I feel disgusting, and I'm in these clothes. No, my dad was just like, just because you got your luggage lost, like, I can help you. Like, he was just like, let me wash your clothes, wear my pajamas. And there I was ruining like evidence for a crime because I didn't know how to communicate something I was going through very traumatically. And I didn't want to talk about this around my child, didn't want to tell my dad what had happened to me. And with my mother, just kind of, and I'm sorry if I go back and forth, it's just hard because it's trauma stuff. When my mom made me out to be such a different person on TV who I never was, about like, oh, you're dating, or like, that's a bad mom, or like this, that, I actually like thought I would have more concern from someone like my mother, who is very critical upon my dating life or anything I did. And when I saw that, she was like, how did you even have time to be sexually assaulted and give that to God? Well, no, I know God has us do things and works or spirituality of our own, but you have to take the steps in order to protect yourself and others. And I want to say, like, I love, I love offerings of suggestions for my parents again, but you have to do what serves you. And in that time, I could not believe that my mom didn't have more of a due diligence and concern and like protect yourself. So yeah, that was also another core thing that I let go of, about like learning all the way back to my childhood and how I was formed in my mind to just sometimes let abuse happen. And maybe that must have been more on my mom's side. And that's what I realized. And everyone's journey and realizations will be different. But these eye-opening traumas, you can really use for the good. You can turn it around. And it is a blessing of what I've been through this year. So I know what I'm saying is really hurtful and hard. And I didn't know how to handle myself. But I figured it out. And I think just understanding you might do everything wrong in a criminal situation, but something makes a way where you have enough strength to pick up the phone and do a report. Even when your girlfriends are like, don't be that girl. I feel sorry for the rapist. That person likes you. I have never, again, guys, I say this because like I've been through the most surrealist, manipulative, abusive situations. And we just kind of can't let people predator on us. And I don't think it could be sexually, could just be at work. Don't let yourself be preyed upon. Don't let your good gifts within yourself be preyed upon by someone else. And I think that's why I say just live your constitutional rights to the fullest. Because if you act like they don't exist, they don't. And if you are like, they do exist and I'm living fully in it, you have all the freedoms, all the success waiting for you in the world. And when I came forward and I did just the right thing of acting on what we're born with, it literally helped other states and other investigations on someone. It literally helped other women in professional positions that needed help. It helped other women just allow them to have a voice when their voice was taken away. And I just don't want anyone to be silenced or keep adding on masks. I know how awful it feels. And I just don't want that anymore for people. So it's a beautiful place to be in. And I'm really grateful that I can share maybe whatever I could today that would resonate with someone else.
That is absolutely beautiful. And I mean, it makes such a strong person out of you going through this at your own pace and at your own way and keep on moving forward. What I hear coming back a few times is how you can't trust people. And we can lead that back to your childhood, you not being able to be yourself and, being abused. So there is such a deep rooted belief in your subconscious system that you can't trust people and that people will take advantage of you in whatever way.
And just so you know, on the abuse topic of attracting abusive people, why would I find myself in a rape situation? Well, it's because I was too comfortable with somebody so mentally ill and unhinged. I was also transformed in my brain at a very young stage to be comfortable with criminal activity, someone who hides things, someone who lies, and I just believe it. And I think that I say that kind of jokingly now, because it actually turned me into being around a lot of very unsafe people, especially in TV and celebrity stuff. I'm really just thankful to God I'm alive. But when my mother, they also called us mother wound on something. One of my girlfriends who also relates to me, she's in the public eye. She's like, yeah, I really did this deep mother wound transformational therapy. Well, I might have done that on myself because I didn't know there was mother wound, but now I do. So check that out if you guys are interested. But when I always was like, hi, I've been lied to. Would you like to explain this to me? And someone with mental illness did not want to uncover their secrets because it was just I've created this life of lies. You've been born in it. This is what you're going to just be okay with, and you're going to live with it. And I'm like, wow, okay. I'm not
Hence
okay with
the
abuse
masks.
anymore. Yeah. And I'm just not okay with the abuse. And I'm not okay with being used as a scapegoat. Life is perfect. I'm just a bad person. So my mom created an element of illusion, which created this thing of, you're okay with all this abuse. You're okay. And I wasn't having my own voice or my choice. And coming from the Midwest of Iowa, a lot of us are quiet. We're going to just go with the flow and not even understand how we're being raised around mental illness and overcoming it and abuse. So my sister and I have gone through a lot of things, and other kids are involved. And I think we all have, as we grow into our own adults, to not hold account our parents. We have our own ways of learning it. It might be from learning new things in the world and having awful traumas happen to you. And I'm actually grateful that they have, because it's made me be the strong, successful person that I am. And it's also helped me understand how to build and rebuild and build again, and be resilient. But I had to put my foot down and just say, I am no longer okay or comfortable with this familiar. And I had to take that to court this year. So I did take my mother to court. I did help my older generation as my grandmother. I do believe in making everything right that is in my power. And I believe I've done that 10 times full this year just because of one rapist. But I ultimately believe, I have no idea why my life was around this person and this human. And it literally took me all the way to my childhood of how I was wired in my brain to let manipulation and abuse be okay. And I think it was traumatizing. It silenced me. It taught me non-consent culture, silenced me. And I realized I have always had a voice. I am always very strong, and I can make all my entire life existence right for not only my sister, not only for my grandma, not only everybody who's been affected by someone who has controlled everyone and lied to them and did their lives a disservice, for their benefit. But ultimately, I have just unprofound amounts of love for someone who has even just done probably the worst of things to everyone. And I will always love my mom. I will always, just love what I was given. But the familiar, when you get too familiar with mental illnesses, criminal activity, and abuse, you will be subject to it unknowingly. And that's what I had to change this year. As soon as I realized those stepping stones of therapy, what was left out of my therapy, what I needed to encourage in my own life, how I needed to unlock that in my body and get free from it. And in turn, free a lot of people in my family from it, and people who I don't even know who need to be free from it. So I'm just super blessed, and it's really sad sometimes, but overall, it's a beautiful way of setting yourself free. We should all be our own people. We don't always have to keep giving and giving to our parents. Codependence is something I see a lot of people just doing once they get successful. They just keep giving to their parents. They feel a need that they have to pay their parents back or do something for them. And I would have to say, guilt trips are awful. That's abusive. Codependency is abusive in some ways. And I just know, be happy for yourself and your hard work. You deserve that. And you deserve to create new worlds and new familiars and just rise. I came from Iowa, thought I was going to live there my whole life, get married there to my high school sweetheart, make a restaurant. And wow, I've really turned out to just be my own independent single woman, only surviving parent. And I've achieved a New York Times bestsellers list for books. I've written many books now. I have had multiple TV shows. I've single-handedly made ratings on my own. I mean, I've been fired 2 or 3, 4 times on a project, and I still get brought back. I don't know how that's legal. But I just want to say, wow, I am living this whole life that keeps getting greater and bigger because I am allowing myself to evolve and create new familiars, even if I'm in a dark place, but I'm just grateful for what I might just have so I can just rebuild better. So it's really enlightening.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think that at this point, you're at a phase in your life where, like you say, it's time to put your foot down and to see that, you know, your parents and everything you've been through growing up was the cause of the things leading up to the events today, but that as of this moment, you are no longer putting the responsibility in their hands. You're putting the responsibility of what is going to happen in your own hands. And that is when you take in the power. And that is when you can create relationships of trust, when you can start attracting people again that also want to give and serve to you the way that you are giving and serving to others. Because that is essentially what life should be about. That is why we are here. But due to the process of being human, sometimes, you know, those beliefs get put in there, and that can really cause a series of events not serving you like it happened to you. And I do hope that this event was the last one for you, so that you can actually be that person of inspiration without having to go through the shit all the time, you know, and to just lead a happy life and a confident life where you can feel safe and secure and have fun, still feeling like reassured, like, okay, you know, I can be comfortable around people.
Yes. Even though I had worked so hard on changing those beliefs, living it, you know, getting out of like my first short-term therapy from this assault, it was so uncanny to me that even though, like, with my therapist's help and everything, trying to get back to work, that, you know, I still held the trigger in my head of like, I know what will trigger me. And it was so uncanny. As I'm on set, I was attacked by like 4 people, and they were all saying the things that were my triggers and doing them. And I was like, wow. So what I learned about this experience of coming back to work, and even though I took meetings, I said whatever, I gave my medical releases, I'm like, I won't be around this person. I was, you know, what I learned from that is, if you speak, if you think about your triggers or the thing you don't want to be around anymore, those things ironically showed up to set in maximum formation.
Yes.
And it overtook, yeah. And I was like, okay, I didn't tell any of these people what was going on with me. But again, surreal, like, how is it that only the 2 things that could totally mess with my mind right now at work just happened in a matter of 2 minutes of being on a set? I hadn't seen these people in years. And I was like, shouldn't even be coming up. Like, and I almost like blacked out when I was like working, because I had to stop myself from getting violent, getting upset, being so lost in this triggering, depressive state. I was like, wow, I have to keep it shut. Like, I can't even keep it in my mind. I need to go release that. And that's why I shared with you, like, the sneaking up of men, because like the assault person, like, just whisked in, and it was like creepy, and it's like stuck in my head. And then also like the thing of using adults as the excuse for being okay of the assault that he did. And those were just 2 crazy things. And then like knocking me out just screwed me up in my consciousness. And when I put all those things together, it now has me hyper aware of like what I'm feeling, right? And I can talk about these triggers now, and I can relive this with everyone here, because I know, like, I'm no longer going to be affected by men sneaking up on me. I'm no longer going to be affected by people trying to prove that they're more of an adult than me and tell me that what their criminal activities are is okay, and validating it like that. That's cool. That's their prerogative. That's not mine. I'm going to be speaking my own voice. I'm not going to be triggered. I'm not going to act out. I'm not going to be violent. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to shut down. going to live my best life. And I'm not going to be a victim of those controls. And I always say, really, I think it's even on my phone, I go, something's always trying to take my control. And that is my opportunity to show I have my control at all times. And things will always fight me. I have no idea why. But, you know, with resilience and integrity and just calmness, I have just found that I win every time. And even on that example of what all could have gone wrong on set and did, I still won legally over that. And I was also dismissed from set, even though I had my stuff most together. And I learned, wow, okay, so like the manipulators still want to try to manipulate me and use me as a scapegoat. Cool. Like my mom. Okay. Well, they were introduced in my life when I was 16 and they saw what I had succumbed to. And those groups of people still have not understood my new reality. They now do. They now have seen it. And I now feel like I have actually evolved and got a college graduate degree out of reality TV. And what a beautiful space for me to say that when that was literally my life in my brain and how I was formed in my predominant years. And now I can rise and go above it. So I'm really excited for 2022. I'm really excited for all these projects and just new worlds I've created and my education and my continuation. But I'm also super excited for my child who has just seen me overcome like lifetimes. And she now has a freedom to free herself in any of those ways. And I think like, you know, parents just want a safe environment and they want the best for their child. And I feel like, when we come from a generation of what is a safe environment and we have to find that, it is a beautiful place to be in, like graduating life. It's a beautiful place.
I think that's a perfect quote to end with. And I'll extend it with one of my own. Your vibe attracts your tribe. And I think that,
I love it.
Yeah, everything you've said has shown that to be the reality. And I hope that people can start to see and feel your new vibe so that they can, you know, be the beautiful people to you that you are being to them. So yes. I'm wishing you all the best. Thank you so much,
Thank
Farrah,
you so
for
much.
being so open and vulnerable with us. I think there lies so much power in doing that. And I think you're amazing. Keep up what you're doing and keep inspiring the world.
Yes. And for you out there too, and everyone else watching, I'm excited.
That's great. Thank you so much. And we'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.